So, why is it so hard to do the right thing? It's a question that drove the medieval philosopher Thomas Aquinas, and in this explainer, we're going to use his surprisingly fresh ideas to try and find an answer. Let's get into it.
You know that feeling, right? You know exactly what you should do. Go to the gym, finish that big project, be the bigger person. But there's this other part of you that just desperately wants to do the exact opposite. It feels like a total civil war inside your own head. So why is that? Why is doing good so tough when you'd think it should be the most natural thing in the world?
Okay, so to even start to get at Aquinas' answer, we've got to realize that our modern idea of free will is actually pretty new. See, Aquinas lived in a completely different conceptual universe. And to really get what he's saying, we have to kind of step into his world for a minute.
When most of us think about free will today, we probably picture something like this. The will is a totally independent commander, standing all by itself, completely free from any outside influences. It makes its choices in what philosophers call a causal vacuum, like nothing that came before it matters. It's a really powerful image for sure, but it's also a pretty lonely picture of how we choose.
But Aquinas, he saw it completely differently. For him, the will isn't some neutral chooser just floating in a void. Nope, it's more like an engine. He called it an intellectual inclination, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a powerful drive that is naturally aimed at a destination. So it's not about being free from everything, it's about being a force that's already pointed towards something.
And this really gets to the heart of it, right? It's a total clash of worldviews. The modern view often sees a mechanistic universe, like a giant game of pool where everything is just billiard balls knocking into each other. But Aquinas lived in a teleological universe. That means everything, from a tiny acorn to a person, has an inbuilt purpose, an end goal, a telos, that it is naturally trying to reach.
All right, so let's dig into this. If our will is this inner engine, how does the whole thing actually work? You know, what are the parts and what's the fuel?
Okay, first up, the will itself. For Aquinas, this is the efficient cause of our actions. Basically, it's the part that makes things happen. It's the motor. It gives you the power to get up and go, but it doesn't decide the destination all on its own. It's just built to seek a purpose.
Right, but an engine doesn't just run on its own, does it? It needs fuel to get going, and it needs a map to know where to go. For Aquinas, these things are provided by two other key parts of who we are.
So input number one is what he calls our natural inclination. This is kind of like our factory setting. We are all built with this deep, restless ache for the good. We might not be able to define what that good is, but we're fundamentally pointed towards it. It's that feeling we all get that we are made for something more.
And then there is the second input, our intellect. Think of the intellect like your car's GPS and sensor system. It scans the world around you and presents options to the will. It labels things as good, and therefore attractive, or bad, and therefore something to avoid. It's giving you that real-time data from the road.
Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. Here's how a choice actually happens in this model. Step 1, your intellect sees something, let's say a delicious-looking slice of cake, and it presents it to you as a good. Step 2, your natural inclination is already primed to go after the good. Step 3, the will, our engine, gets the signal from both and, boom, it fires up and moves you toward that cake. That's choice in action.
All right, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great, but it brings up a huge question. If our entire system, our intellect, our nature, our will, if the whole thing is designed to find and move towards what's good, then why do we mess up so often? Why do we choose things that are obviously, sometimes tragically, bad for us?
Well, for Aquinas, the answer is all about the final destination. He argued that our restless desire isn't just for any old good thing, it's for the ultimate good, the one thing that will completely fulfill us. And as a Christian theologian, he identified that ultimate good as God. This is the true north that our air compass is always supposed to be pointing to.
See, the problem is, while we're on this journey to our true north, we run into all these other immediate goods. These are things that look good and feel good in the moment. You know, pleasure, power, money. Now, these things aren't necessarily evil in and of themselves. The real error, the big moral mistake, happens when our intellect gets confused and presents one of these immediate goods to the will as if it were the ultimate good.
This famous line from John Milton's Paradise Lost just nails the psychology here. When Satan says this, he isn't choosing evil because it's ugly or destructive. No, he's making a conscious choice to relabel it, to call his own selfish rebellion his good.
That's the moment the intellect tragically misidentifies the target. And this is the absolute key to understanding Aquinas. He says nobody, and I mean nobody, chooses evil for its own sake. We just can't. We always choose something because we see it in some way as a good. The tragedy of a bad choice is that our intellect has been tricked, either by our passions or by the world, into seeing something harmful as something desirable. Choosing evil is, at its heart, a mistake, a tragic misperception.
So, if our perception can get so easily tricked, are we just doomed to mess up? Well, no, not at all. Aquinas believed we come equipped with tools to help us fix our perception and aim that engine in the right direction. You could say he gives us a map and a compass. So the map is what he calls natural law. This is the idea that there's an objective moral order that's literally built into the fabric of reality, and we can actually read this map with our reason because it's written in our hearts. It's all based on looking at the world and figuring out the natural purposes and inclinations of things.
And he breaks this down into 3 basic levels, kind of like building blocks. First, like all physical things, we have a natural drive to just keep existing, to preserve our own being. Second, like other animals, we're inclined towards procreation and taking care of our kids. But third, as uniquely rational beings, we have a higher calling, to seek the truth, especially the ultimate truth, and to live in a just and peaceful society.
But you know, a map isn't much good if you can't keep yourself heading in the right direction. For that, you need a compass. And for Aquinas, that compass is the virtues. And virtues aren't just nice ideas. They are actual, practical habits. They're like moral muscle memory that we build into our character through practice, over and over, making it easier and more natural to choose the right thing.
He focuses on 2 main sets. You've got the 4 cardinal or natural virtues. These are the classics from the Greeks: justice, wisdom, courage, and self-control. He says anyone can develop these through practice. Then he adds 3 theological virtues: faith, hope, and love, which for him were gifts of divine grace that take those natural virtues and perfect them.
Okay, let's bring this all home and loop back to where we started, this whole idea of freedom. Because what Aquinas offers us is a completely different, even radical way to think about what it actually means to be free. This quote just sums it up perfectly. For Aquinas, real freedom isn't that lonely, empty freedom from all outside causes. It's not about being in a vacuum. Real freedom is the freedom the freedom to chase your true purpose without all that inner conflict. It's when your will, your intellect, and your deepest desires are all lined up, joyfully and spontaneously running toward the goal you are literally made for. And so that leaves us with a really big question to chew on. Today, we often think freedom means having the maximum number of options, just endless choices. But what if Aquinas was onto something? What if real freedom isn't about how many paths are open to you, but about having a clear destination and the power to run towards it with everything you've got?